Every shadow hides a story. Every creak is a whisper from the unknown. Welcome to Haunted Gully, where nightmares come alive.
Where is my candy? As the clock struck midnight in the dimly lit cadaver lab, Sam found himself alone. He had been invited, more like commanded, by a group of senior medical students to partake in an old, whispered about hazing ritual. The instructions were bizarre. Feed the anatomy skeleton model 1 candy, 1 piece for each bone. It's tradition, they had sneered, their faces shadowed in the flickering fluorescent light. Sam laughed nervously when they handed him a plastic bag filled with candy. Seriously? This is what you guys do to new students? He had asked. You'll see why, one of them muttered, before leaving him alone. The skeleton, named Mr. Lumen, according to the faded nameplate on the wall, hung at the center of the room, a relic of the university's storied past. Its yellowed bones gleamed under the harsh light, hollow eye sockets seemingly watching his every move. Sam hesitated before starting. He unwrapped the candies, cheap, colorful pieces of hard candy, and began placing them into the skeleton's open ribcage, hollow pelvis, and around its bony fingers. He counted each placement, reciting the names of the bones in his head as if preparing for an exam. Humerus, radius, ulna, femur. By the time he reached the phalanges of the left hand, he was tired, annoyed, and honestly, a little scared. There were only a few candies left in the bag, and he was sure no one would count. This is so stupid, he muttered, dropping the bag on the nearby table. Sam decided to leave the last piece of candy in the bag. 1 won't matter, he reasoned. He grabbed the coat, glanced at the skeleton one last time, and turned to leave. But just as his hand touched the door, a dry, raspy voice echoed through the room. Where is my candy? Sam froze. The voice seemed to come from everywhere at once, slowly. He turned back to face Mr. Lumen. The skeleton was no longer in its usual pose. Its bony fingers were clutching the edge of the display stand, and its head was tilted, as if scrutinizing him. Its hollow sockets seemed darker, deeper, almost alive. I fed you, Sam stammered. His voice cracked as fear clawed its way up his throat. Not all of it, the skeleton hissed, its jaw moving unnervingly smooth for something lifeless. Sam backed up, knocking over a tray of scalpels with a clatter. The skeleton stepped off its stand, bones creaking like the groan of an old door. Where is my candy? It repeated, louder this time. It's just 1 piece, Sam shouted, clutching the edge of the table behind him. The skeleton lunged forward, its bony hands wrapping around Sam's wrist with inhuman strength. The fingers felt cold, as if they were siphoning warmth straight from his body. You owe me, it rasped, dragging him closer. Sam screamed, kicking over chairs and surgical tools as he struggled. But the skeleton was unrelenting. It forced him to the ground, pinning him beneath its weight. Where is my candy? It asked one final time, its voice now a guttural snarl. Sam couldn't answer, his throat constricted with terror as the skeleton's bony hand reached into his chest. Pain exploded in his body as he felt it scraping, tearing, searching for something deep within him. His vision blurred as his screams dissolved into choking gasps. When the senior students returned the next morning, they found Sam, lying motionless on the floor, his face frozen in an expression of sheer terror. His chest was hollow, a gaping cavity where his heart had been. Perched back on its stand, Mr. Lumen hung innocently, its skeletal grin unchanged, but nestled within its ribcage was a single piece of candy, now gleaming a dark, sticky red. No one spoke of the incident, but the next year, the new students were very careful to feed the skeleton every single piece of candy. The end.
The story may have ended, but the darkness never rests. Subscribe and let the nightmares continue.